morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. It's Matt Coleman, your host from Magnify World, speaking from our Los Angeles studio. We have another guest today in our most interesting Top 50 podcast series. He's actually live from Paris today. It's artist Pierre. How are you today?
Excellent.
Great to join us. I know we've spoken a couple of times before. This should be a really good interview then, right? And catching up again. So what I had a great direction from you, I thought, calling yourself the Sorcerers Apprentice in designing virtual reality and you're creating virtual worlds for musical artists, amongst other things. Where did the Sorcerers Apprentice come from?
It can come from the, I think, 1930s, actually 42 maybe, Disney film called Fantasia. And the opening sequence, had a story about a Sorcerer's Apprentice, and it's actually a folk story from Europe, somehow connected by Mozart. So in a way, it's in the line of, let's say, a witcher, a witch, or a wizard, basically, to learn, a craft, but around new technology.
Fantastic. So listen, before we get into some of the virtual worlds that you've been creating and breaking records, actually, with amounts of people flocking online to check out your work, tell us how you got started. And I wanted to take you back to your film and television training that you did in the Institute of India.
Yeah.
You said that was outside Bombay, I believe. How did you move from Paris to Bombay, and what inspired you to do that?
I still have no idea until now. I mean, it's just an intuition I had when I was maybe 16, 17. I was not really particularly interested in India, but it just felt right to leave my comfort zone and study and or learn more about life, actually. But I was been very passionate about cinema since the age of 6, 7 years old. And I wanted to explore a place which is completely different from where I'm from, and therefore I could maybe have something to say, in my stories, in the type of works that I want to create. And in fact, I was just fortunate. I mean, I do come from a film background, and also want to add that I was very lucky to try VR headset for the first time in 1993. I was 7 years old, and that was in London, arcade center called Sega World, I believe, Trafalgar Square. And it was just basically a huge computer side of a room. And then I think it was a paragliding experience it was a paragliding experience in Los Angeles in 1920, I believe, actually. And the building was just big rocks and big cubes, and there's no texture at all, it was a simple graphics. You can imagine 93, and that was really the first time I tried VR.
Great. Well, look, let's talk about some of your latest work. And I did have one question as you're explaining all of this. I mean, when you say creator of virtual worlds and you're a designer, what's the gamut of your delivery here? Is it the ideas right through to the actual design and the delivery? Is it like a turnkey solution you're offering?
Yeah, it's very hard actually to pinpoint, and I've got many hats. In a way, the equivalent is being a director or game designer. If you use terms from other industries. And in VR, it's just something very new. Sometimes I am a creative technologist and some kind of advisor, and I counsel basically filmmakers, and I help them to do VR stuff, and sometimes also a program. So basically, the supervisor and the authoring agent, and taking all the creative decisions, and maybe the best term is creative director. And I like to sometimes I even call myself a space artist, because I do believe, inherently VR is about creating worlds, and something I find it very fascinating.
Excellent. So let's talk about Sundance 2020. Tell us more about this space out underwater experience. And I want to know, did people go underwater? Did the media get in the pool to view this?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I started doing this work. I mean, the inspiration of this work was it's a crisis where 3 years ago, where let's say the first wave, or some people even say fifth wave, because VR started in the 60s. But there was basically the kind of death or slow death of 360-degree. And it was in a way, a first attempt, to do VR, but just very limiting, and things were not going right in terms of just business or possibilities and prospects. So I was looking for a way to go back to the my desire to do VR, and again go back to '93, and even later on where I had lucid dreaming, and where I was conscious, within, the dream, and able to control. And I felt that that time, I mean, even still now, it's a bit okay, but VR is still very bulky and very heavy. The hardware, I'm still aware of the hardware and the cables and things like that, and even though you know the cables. But I mean, basically, I was really also super lucky to have a friend, a long-time collaborator called Ando Shah, who co-founded a startup based I mean, San Francisco, I guess you can say Silicon Valley, but yeah, and he created actually, or he designed the world's first underwater VR headset, meaning that it's waterproof. So you can actually go in the water. You can actually even take it to a floating tank, sensory deprivation, chamber or tank, and use it. But my experience is installation, and it's in a swimming pool or in a special place, and it's called Space Out, and it's a journey from the Earth to the Moon. It's a mixed juxtaposition of abstract, I mean, sometimes realistic elements like audio narration, which is actually the real voices of the Apollo 11 astronauts, and they narrate, or they actually, I mean, use a real archive, and they describe what they see and the feeling when they first land on the moon. And mixed with that, we designed, with a great collaborator called Sutu, who recently did the art direction for the virtual concert, The Weekend and John Legend. And he created a world where, it was extremely abstract, and it's taken from inspiration from the first sci-fi film ever made called A Trip to the Moon by Georges Méliès. And this mashup of elements, mixing poetic and scientific truth and narrations, created this piece where you feel weightless, and it's almost like a simulation of zero gravity. And yeah, so I was very fortunate again to be selected at Sundance, and thanks to the creator Sherry Frilo. She was almost the godmother of the project, and it was even before the crisis or the pandemic crisis, and I was very fortunate to showcase it in front of people, and it was incredible. We had a great media coverage.
Excellent. So I know there's something like about 70,000 applications, I believe, to submit your work to Sundance. So that's a great accomplishment there.
Actually, I didn't send it. I was lucky to, like, I didn't physically, digitally send the application. I did a residency 2 years ago in Switzerland, and she was the mentor. She was a jury member of this residency or fellowship program, and so she was actually a great enabler of the project, and then she followed up on the progress, and she selected me.
Excellent. So it seems like you draw your inspiration potentially on real life footage, someone landing on the moon, or the first sci-fi movie. Is that what you're trying to achieve with all your work?
Actually, it's the way we describe and recently understood about my work is that it's really about mindfuck. It's really about the stretch of the mind and imagination, where you mix documentary elements, something realistic and something abstract and poetic, and the two together, which are not opposed, because usually they are, create, and provoke, and generate strange emotions where you feel you can identify with the work. So like to the case of, sorry for the mic. So the example of Space Out, you have the real voices which you have heard somehow, like the countdown and everything, and there's even some images of the flat images inside the 3D world. But then it's you can't really see what's happening, understand what's happening, and it's I think it's very interesting to combine both. Yeah, it's I think a unique style that I'm trying to develop.
And what about music? Do you have a particular range of artists or do you create the music yourself for background soundtracks?
I do have background music. I studied jazz composition, but I've not done yet my own music composition. And a great independent electronic artist called Morad Benasser, and he did a couple of projects, 3 at least. And I always work with the same crew because there is a sense of family and a sense of growing all together as artists and individuals. We get along very well, and then yeah, he feeds me. Actually, sometimes I even use music that he has done before, and so I'm like also lucky to use, and I even while writing the project, I get inspiration, and then we work on the music, and so it's an interesting process that way.
I was just going to ask, is there a way to use artificial intelligence or some algorithm that would trigger some new experience, depending on your feeling or touch or smell in the future? There's a biometric suit covered in the last couple of months, which monitors obviously everything. It could be for training for astronauts, or it could be for sports and things like that. And with the up and coming 5G networks, things are going to be faster for VR, and the quality is going to get better. Have you found any of these restraints or new user cases using this new technology to your advantage?
In a way, I'm more like in a project in development actually, and the challenge is the hardware. Like as artists or creators, you depend on the hardware manufacturers and the infrastructure and installation and all that. For AI, particularly, or machine learning, actually, let's call it, it's more for the back end. There's certain tasks that can be done, quite effectively. Great for augmented reality, the use of object recognition, and have ML in the background, recognizing objects in the world, and I find it interesting to use it subtly, or let's say invisibly, like use this great technology. May talk about it, like for marketing purpose, or just to pitch and present project, but it's not obvious, it's just a part of the work, and because it can be very hard and intimidating also, and or just like gimmicky. If you just use it, in the front and you promise something around that. 5G is great, but for me, it's connected to music, to cloud computing. I find cloud computing more exciting, among the new technologies, because the devices should be small and lighter in a way, and less intrusive, and so just having a device like a computer or a phone, which is just a screen, basically, and has some kind of input elements, and then all the processing, the GPU and the memory is the server, elsewhere remotely. That's there's going to be really a revolution, especially for VR, because you need to have a headset lighter. And I think, the protocol of 5G, not even with the towers and everything, but just locally, can just be a great way to get rid of the cables, So like, instead of using Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, just use, let's say, 5G within the devices and all that. So.
It was kind of a segue into Salvador Dali's latest museum experience. I don't know whether that's really something that's been built out in, AI and machine learning, and what they've managed to create. I just wanted to get your opinion on this. There's about 1,000 conversations that have been programmed through a giant life-size mirror that you can talk to him and ask him about his work. And I believe it's taken them a couple of years to get that right. Another world-famous local over there historically. What do you think of all of this, bringing these people back into life?
They're just having a natural progression. We always, we throw the term new technology or innovative, but there's, I think, a dream, an ancestral dream or ancestral desire takes us back, in the beginning of humanity and Homo sapiens, species, where I think we always want to defy the laws of nature and defy death, and it's just the technology is a way to become our own gods, and to the own masters of reality and control things around us. Death and the absence of someone, and it makes us uncomfortable, and so we want to rectify that, and we find tools to correct, and to challenge, the creation that we give it to us, like nature or things like that, and so we are weird as human beings, and it's natural progression. That same way when we use just example of VR, because I teach about VR and I give workshops. I refer to ancient painting, to cave paintings, and to Paleolithic area, and where we've plowed and ashes you will draw on inside caves or anywhere basically, and these were first immersive experience. So even before that, you just telling a story around fire, or just language is creating abstraction, in the reality. You're telling something about the past, that you killed a bison, you kill a wolf, the day before. It's not. It's language is creation of fiction, of something abstract that doesn't exist in the here and now. Cut to VR, and Oculus, new Quest 2 coming and all that. Just the same desire to master reality, and maybe to be somewhere else, and maybe to be someone else, because we're never satisfied. We just we are never satisfied, we're never content with where we are, and like a mythological artist, like in the modern mythology has become this a symbol
Yes.
of surrealism and things that and that defy our rationality. And yeah, it's the most interesting that.
Excellent. Hey, why don't we now? I really want to talk about this, and I know the viewers have been waiting for more information on the Jean-Michel Jarre VR live set that you're the creative director for.
Yeah.
So this is only a recent project. Can you tell us, when that was, and how much in the planning took place, and was this a world first experience?
Yes. So actually, there's a link between just these two conversations. I just read, after working with Jean-Michel Jarre, I actually bought and read his autobiography, and he narrates a true story that Salvador Dali actually invited him before, when he was actually dying, before it was a kind of agonizing state, and he asked actually him to compose, to create during his funeral, the original piece. That he died before, but Jean-Michel Jarre was actually preparing, especially music, a show actually for after that is dead on his request. So that can give, the leverage. So I know for the young generations, it might not be as known as for us, but the man who has sold 85 million albums is the son of three Oscar winners, and his father was Maurice Jarre, who was a music composer and he did the music of Lawrence of Arabia, Passage to India, and Dr. Zhivago, and many other films. And Jean-Michel has been a pioneer of electronic music. We actually owe him a lot, and him along with Kraftwerk and Italian Dream, were really the godfathers, of modern music. He also has been the one that made the biggest concerts, ever. So for the music day in 21st of June, we in fact I approached him. We were commissioned by the French Ministry of Culture, to create a virtual concert, which was hosted inside a VR social platform called VR Chat, which is popular because it's owned by Valve, also owns Steam, and it's the most popular and engaging VR social experience. And we also had a music concert, a physical concert at the same time behind the Louvre, by actually where the ministry is. And within 3 weeks, we created this show, which we have taken maybe 4 or 5 months. Yeah, we kind of broke the records. We had a live set, for about 45 minutes. It was, an avatar, and his movements were tracked, in real time. So it was really him, so it was a concert. But you're not in front of him. You were, inside of your headset, or even on your computer. You could actually move around and be also an avatar, and you'd be inside the space which we designed, which was a kind of a spaceship or ancient spaceship. We created 40 minutes worth of long animation. We designed, different interactive things, and it was really like a gamified, a concert, So, and yeah, it broke some records, including the most attended virtual live show. And in combined, we had 10,000, simultaneously 3,000. We also had 600,000 viewers in the 2D live stream, on social media. So basically, we had this, inside a virtual 3D space, cameras that was, recording different angles, and then we had a live editor, and so people who didn't have, a headset or this app called VR Chat could watch a concert, like a normal one, and on YouTube and Facebook and all that. And yeah, so it was challenging and unique, I think. And we had a lot of media. We had also an article on Ringstone Magazine USA, the US edition. And we are very proud. And then we also thinking, and not even thinking, we're actually creating, preparing the next step, and the next shows.
Going back to the numbers, I think, over 1 million people have watched it online, the 2D version now, post
Yeah.
event. What about just going back into how many people you can have in the VR chat rooms, as an example? There is some limitations, and you probably love it to be a lot more because you probably would have got a lot more. But there are some limitations. Just tell everybody, what the challenges are there for VR concerts or meet and greets. And I know you had, maybe tell us a little bit around how you worked around the different rooms that you created and things like that we discussed.
So on a technical level, this new, phenomena, which is, justified and by the pandemic, and being very relevant for our times, is these virtual concerts or virtual events, and the backbone is just a multiplayer online experience, and basically it's as old as World of Warcraft, Warcraft or Ultima Online, basically like the beginning of the internet with massive online multiplayer experience. And so yeah, essentially there's a lot of roadblocks, and let's say a VIP room, probably like let's say a main room where Jean-Michel was really there with about 40 people. And like if you compare to like even 2D normal shooters, I think Fortnite, I think there were 200 people, in one, in one, let's say, room or one world. And then you have different servers. You have basically a mirror worlds, and that can be basically unlimited, unlimited, but dependent on the actual companies, like VRChat, own servers, and the capacity. So, and what they rent, like the kind of network they have. So we were told like not more than 30,000, so 30,000 people could be in total online for like just one room, but 40 then split by 1,000 rooms, let's say, or 800 rooms. And we had like 10,000, and we were the most attended, one of the most attended show, in VR chat, but in VR for sure. And yeah, so that's a challenge to have basically a main room with 40 people, and then a mirror walls, which don't have actually. I mean, it's a technical cheat, but you can have Jean-Michel Jarre also in all the rooms, and the same animation, same kind of interactivity, and of course the same music.
Obviously, different group of people though, which is fantastic.
Batches of 40 people.
Yeah. And look, moving on. I mean, how many of these you want to do? I mean, have you got the capacity to do one of these a month or one of these every quarter? It's obviously a big job to pull all this together.
Within 3 weeks, it all depends. As my capacity as a creator, I could do 2 a month, let's say. Depends on the ambition, the size, but it can be, it doesn't have to be. What we did was really, crazy, and getting a lot of requests from different perspectives, different needs, and with Jean-Michel Jarre, pretty my priority, of course. But we're going to make something which might reach millions of people. Actually, we will reach millions of people if all the lines are, aligned right now. But yeah, it will be 10 times the scale of what we did, at least 10 times, actually. Even 100 times, so to be honest.
Fantastic. And what are you looking forward to in the future? What immersive technologies really inspire you and to create the next visionary product that you've been seem to be working on for the last number of years?
Do you want the answer? Because last time we talked about it, do you want the answer, the short-term answer or the long-term answer?
Happy for you to do the long-term answer.
Okay.
Because I know we did touch on smart glasses as well.
Yeah, we did. Beyond that, even actually today there's an article on The Guardian, which is a bit of a recooked news for me. So basically, the CEO, the founder of Netflix, I forget his name, Reed Hastings, something like that. He talks again about the future of entertainment, which you can see as a peep in the last season, third season of Westworld, where one of the characters, I forgot to play by who, but he takes a pill, a kind of ecstasy, I guess, or LSD, which is like carefully designed to have a fiction component. So you have a pill, or you have a pill with different effects. So you have like a Western type of effect or film noir effect and all that. And so the founder of Netflix, talk about it again, and that in a way the future of entertainment is biotechnological, where we can design and design carefully and safely psychedelic with a psychedelic experience, which could be give you a sense of being immersed and basically being inside a story when you're your own hero, but we can be also safe. And it's actually doable and possible already now, but with microdosing, let's say, but it's just not socially accepted. Just society will not allow it for now. So the idea, in a way, that future entertainment and immersion can be through pills. Then on the other hand, of course, you have your artificial retinas and even your Neuralink, and what's the company that is on Elon Musk, is doing and developing, connecting, interfacing the brain and computer. But also you have down the line beyond holograms, which is a technology called dynamic reality, or DR, and it's already being developed, in a very primitive form, and it's even called tangible media. This department at MIT lab, where they try basically the idea is to blend pixels and atoms. So if you remember, actually there's 3 films recently we talked about that: Transcendence, 2014 with Johnny Depp, Black Panther, and even Super has got scenes where they have holographic sequences, holographic projection, but it's not light or photons. Is actually each pixel is actually a kind of a nano particle or sand, basically, that move very fast to create sculptures or to create recognizable objects and faces. So another way you can imagine that 3D printing is actually the photography of dynamic reality, and so you can project to develop 3D printing, but 24 sculpture per second, and have basically a telepresence, and again the blend between atoms and pixels. So you have immersive technology, virtual, creating virtual worlds or characters, and even beyond AR and VR, but you don't wear the device, so it's not a wearable technology, and it's outside, and of course through a means of always a kind of terminal, a device that creates this kind of stuff, but it will be more invisible and take further than just a neurogram, which could be, which is just a hollow, which is invisible.
Fantastic. And that dynamic reality tech, I can't wait to see that into action. And also, obviously, wearables are coming fast. Apple just announced their smart glasses that may come in the next year or two. So there's definitely going to be a new world out there. I wish it was here already. Pierre,
this weekend they will announce it. Actually, there will be on the 12th or 13th of September announcement for that.
Fantastic. And tell us, can you let the viewers know where they can find you, whether it's LinkedIn or your website, just to finish up here?
So you can find me on social media, on Instagram, Monsieur_Pierre, P-I-R-E, and we have a website, pierrefriquet.net, and on the LinkedIn as well. I'm sure you'll put my information, on the link below.
Fantastic, Pierre. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you and see what's inspiring you and talk about groundbreaking projects. So congratulations on all your work, and I look forward to you creating a new live music scene online in your virtual world. So thanks very much for catching up again today.
Thanks a lot. It's been really a pleasure. And again, thanks for your curiosity, interest, and I really like your questions. So.